place in 1941, and it concerns Nora, the oldest daughter. She's 29 when this happens, and she still lives at home. She works at a department store, right, Metzler's, in a nearby town called Uniontown, and she leads a very circumscribed life. She is, you know, the old maid, the spinster, and people kind of look at her, you know, like, oh boy. And so she lives vicariously through the movies. She goes to the movies every Saturday, and she's just entranced with movie stars and reads the magazines and is fascinated with the clothes because she can't afford them herself. And her favorite actress is Katharine Hepburn. In this particular scene, she's on her lunch hour, and she and her friend Carol Ann are going to look at this dress shop called La Femme, and it's very chic, very expensive. And Nora has been admiring the windows, and Carol Ann finally talked her into taking her with her to show her the store. So Nora's expectation was they would just look at the windows, and Carol Ann has other ideas. So she leaves Carol Ann on the sidewalk. She goes in to check to see if her shoe's ready at a shoe repair, and the scene starts when she steps outside from the shoe repair shop. A stiff breeze laden with rain swept across the street. Nora forced open her old umbrella, puzzled by the vacant sidewalk. Perhaps Carol Ann hadn't found La Femme's window so impressive and backtracked to the bakery to indulge her sweet tooth. La Femme's window warmed with a rosy glow, as if indeed its curtain hung in a theater, and the first act was now underway. Behind the potted palms, Carol Ann conversed with the saleslady. What had possessed a common shop girl to enter an establishment catering to the country club set? The saleslady wore a fashionably striped gray suit. In contrast, Carol Ann appeared merely presentable in a blouse and the skirt that accentuated the 5 pounds she was always hoping to lose. A burst of rain slapped Nora's back, soaking her straight through to her brassiere. Lightning flashed, drawing Carol Ann's attention to the window. "Come in," she mouthed, frowning when Nora didn't move. The saleslady beckoned too, leaving Nora no choice but to approach the pink door. Just as it opened, she noticed that the leather had split across the toe of her left shoe. Carol Ann pulled her inside, announcing, "Mrs. Hamilton, here's my friend Nora Sweeney. She spent every lunch hour for the past 2 weeks outside your store." "What a lovely compliment," said Mrs. Hamilton. Her dark hair fell in soft waves to her shoulders. Parted in the middle and drawn back from her forehead, it was the same style worn by Hedy Lamarr on the current screen guide cover. "Not 2 weeks," Nora protested. She'd gladly have stepped on Carol Ann's foot, but feared to draw Mrs. Hamilton's attention to her damaged Oxford. "Carol Ann tells me you like my windows. I'm just tickled to death." Nora couldn't believe it. Mrs. Hamilton's inflection was remarkably similar to Vivian Lee's in Gone with the Wind. Mrs. Hamilton went on, "Why, look at you. You're soaked to the skin. We can't have you going back to work like that." Mrs. Hamilton led Nora through across rosy plush carpet, insulted by her dripping hem. Beside floral chintz armchairs, dainty tables held copies of Marie Claire, a fashion magazine Nora had never seen before. She longed to inspect the alluring covers, but Mrs. Hamilton escorted her to the adjoining room, where mannequin brides flanked a rack of frothy white gowns. And then still through another doorway, and Nora found herself in a hallway lined with crystal-knobbed closets. "Scoot inside a dressing room, sugar," said Mrs. Hamilton. "I'll go find you something pretty to wear." She regarded Nora with a practiced eye, no doubt seeing straight through the drenched dress to the Sears catalog underwear. "Such a trim little waist. I'm simply green with envy. Go on now. We don't want to ruffle your boss's feathers sending you back late." She retreated, leaving Nora as frozen as the mannequins. Mrs. Hamilton clearly expected Nora to wear that something pretty, back to Wright Metzler's, dry and stylish beyond her wildest dreams. And since this was hardly a satin curtain relief office, Mrs. Hamilton also would expect payment, certainly much more than the $3 in Nora's wallet. Carol Ann's voice floated through the bride's room. Blue is her favorite color. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Nora muttered, pacing in front of the dressing rooms. God help those who help themselves, but not a girl whose pride had escorted her into a jam that offered no graceful exit. Then she noticed a different door, larger, with a worn brass knob. The door opened onto an office. Ledgers, an adding machine, and issues of Harper's Bazaar cluttered a large desk. An iron railing was visible through the lone window. Nora approached it, her decision made. If Katharine Hepburn, as Jo March in Little Women, could climb out a window and down a trellis wearing a crinoline, Nora could certainly manage a fire escape. Despite her vanity, God hadn't abandoned her. She clambered over the sill and down the clanging metal steps, noticing with no small relief that it had stopped raining. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marian, for a delightful reading. Wonderful to have you here. I'm sure you'll be open to some questions, or
Oh, do you want to do that now, or would you rather wait until afterwards?
how about now?
Oh, okay, sure. Do you rather have me up there so you can fire away?
Sure.
Ready? Sure, ask me anything you want. Does anyone have a question? Sure.
Sure. Well, I was wondering how long it took you to write that. I mean, it's so much vivid detail. You must have done a lot of research.
I did a lot of research. It took me 9 years of researching and writing, and I live in Texas. The book takes place in southwestern Pennsylvania, and I was back. I developed a deep love of librarians and archives, and it's amazing what kind of material is made available now for researchers, and it was invaluable to me.